Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we're doing a recap and review of Love Island USA Season 2 Episode 16. So we are back on set once again today in gorgeous Las Vegas, where our two villas, the actual villa and Casa Amor, has a lot of drama going on today. So let's jump into this video and get to talking about it. So I'm going to do it typically like I normally do. We're going to break it out into couples and their interactions with the newbies. So the first one I'm talking about is Justine and Caleb. And with Justine, she said that her top two interests is pretty much Mike and Aaron. And she liked the fact that she was able to kiss Aaron. This guy right here is Mike. But I just wanted to mention that because she also had an attraction with Aaron and how she kissed him. But the conversation that she had with Mike, she was telling him how having the new guys there bring out a different vibe in all of the girls. And, she liked his dance moves, and she was asking about his family dynamic. And he actually called his mom Mama. He grew up based on how, she raised him and brought him to the man he is today. And he even called his mom the queen, and she has a lot of strong confidence. So he likes that, and I think he was saying he kind of see that in Justine as well. And so he asked her, well, where are you at this point with Caleb? And she said, if Caleb wasn't in the picture and if she was thinking about recoupling, it would probably either be Mike or Aaron. But I'm glad to see that she actually still have interest in Caleb. I really like those two together. I don't see any chemistry, even though I know that Mike was one of her interests. I don't see the chemistry there. I just don't. And granted, this is probably like their first conversation. And even with, the conversation that she has with Aaron, when she was talking about that with the girls and how she's trying to compare the two. And again, about, the kiss that they have and Aaron's full lips. I don't even see that with Aaron either. I just don't. And of course, as we go further into the show, we'll talk about where Aaron's interest actually lies. But yeah, I don't see anything with these two guys. I really see her more with Caleb. But I think what's going to be her downfall is her insecurity, because she already thinks that Caleb is going to come in the door with someone else. So let's talk about that. They were doing dares, and one of the dares that Caleb had to do was a lap dance with Faith. And I mean, he participated, but I really truly don't think he had really an interest in Faith. Caleb has been pretty much low-key. I mean, even Janelle has been trying to come for him. And granted, they did share a kiss, but I think that kiss was more of Janelle's ideal versus that being Caleb's idea. And I mean, even when he had a sit-down conversation, with Calvin, he says, I'm pretty much stuck on Justine. I like what she has to offer. She has a great foundation that I can build a relationship with. I mean, he even said before they separated and went to the separate villas that Caleb really can see her as wifey material. And I just need Justine to just hang in there, stop doubting herself, because that's what's going to be actually her downfall. I mean, I don't know why she's a little insecure. He really hasn't given her reason to. Kind of like, even Trey, I mean, whatever his reasons is, he didn't give too much insecurity. It's just that they didn't have a lot of chemistry. But with Caleb, I mean, he's all in. He's comfortable with her. He can build something with her. And even the conversation that, with Cher, he wasn't even interested in pursuing anything with her. I mean, at first there was some interest there, but, with Cher, it's just not there. That foundation is not there. And of course, as we go along, Calvin is going to show some interest in her. So let's move on and talk about Cely and Johnny. It was interesting, even though Cely has a lot of confidence, which I still think her confidence is a lot more than maybe what Justine has. There is still a part of her that's, wondering, should she be worried if Johnny comes back in there with another girl? And granted, I mean, she knows Johnny is extremely attractive. I mean, she sees what's in Johnny. She know basically what he has to offer. So why wouldn't another girl be interested? And I know Cely is like, hey, if he does come in there, she's going to try to maintain her composure and say, it is what it is pretty much. And hey, go do you. But part of her would definitely be disappointed. And it wasn't too much today on her, except the fact that she was enjoying waking everybody up with positive energy. So let's talk about our boy Johnny. And he had a dare where he had to lick Mercedes from the knee to the lips. And yeah, he participated. I don't think it was the same level of intensity that he was in yesterday's episode when he was really, really feeling Mercedes. I think it finally has sunk in that, he's really missing Cely. And even his conversation with the guys, he's like, you know what? I hope I didn't put my relationship in jeopardy. I'm going to tell and confess everything that happened here, and hopefully she understands. Johnny, I hope for your sake, she's just as easygoing as you expect her to be about this, but I don't know. So now they're at bedtime, and Mercedes has a conversation with Johnny pretty much about where he's at with the whole thing between the two of them, because she has some interest in Carrington. And so Johnny is like, you know what, look, I'm just going to keep it real with you. My heart is with Cely. I mean, you're a great girl. I find you attractive, but it's a little bit deeper with Cely, and I'm just going to go back to her. And I don't think Mercedes wanted to hear that, but hey, he made his choice and he got some clarity. And he didn't see anything solid with her. And I'm hoping for his sake, Cely, I don't know. I mean, any other woman would be like, dude, really? But this is a game. And this is a television show where you have to open yourself up to people. And just like Mercedes said, I'm not going to be number two. I'm going to move on. So it's going to be interesting to see where Cely and Johnny is going to go after he goes and do a tell-all about what happened in Casa Amor with Mercedes. Now, it's interesting, though, that when Mercedes said that she's moving on, he was feeling and looking some kind of way. And she rolled over on him at bedtime. So we'll see. Okay, so we're going to talk about next Maura and Calvin. And they were having some conversation because Jalen was originally, trying to make a connection with Maura. And he's like, I'm completely over Maura, which gave Aaron the green light to go ahead and pursue a connection with her. So Aaron is, pretty much being straightforward with her, saying, hey, I'm digging you. I like our connection, and you definitely made a mean grilled cheese sandwich. So he was pretty excited about that, and she just laughed that off because she thought that was funny. And Maura was saying, you know what, out of all of the guys here, he caught her eye, and she wanted to get to know him, and she likes the fact that he's carefree, he's refreshing, and he says that there was a conversation about him being the medicine that she needs. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, I really thought before the split of the two villas that she had some form of a connection with Calvin. But, looking at this particular connection that she has with Aaron, I honestly think that they may be a better fit. You guys let me know what you think. Do you think she should try to continue to pursue something with Calvin? Or do you think that she needs to move on to see what she can go with Aaron? I actually see her being a little bit more lighthearted. I mean, especially after this whole thing with James and then now Calvin, and now she's on guy number 3 with Aaron. So, I mean, they're basically vibing. They're having a good time. The conversation is flowing. Only thing about Moira is that the moment that, I don't know, she's easily triggered. So if something is said, she tends to shut down. She makes all these weird faces. So I don't know if, Aaron is going to be willing to deal with that. I mean, right now it seems to be sunshine and roses with these two and their conversation and their connection. But I don't know about these two. However, Moira is actually, considering where she want to go with this because she does feel refreshed when it comes to them. And then there's also this whole thing with Kirsten that she's interested in as well. And so we got a little bit of a triangle here. And of course, as you well know, Moira was giving both of them the side eye. And it even spilled over into the dressing room. I mean, I think if Kirsten had said, I'm not going to get into it over a dude, I think Moira was ready to go head to head with this girl because I can tell by her facial features. One thing about Moira, you can see emotion all over her faces. She makes so many different faces when it comes to how she's feeling in the moment. But Kirsten took the mature route and like, look, hey, if you want to go for him, go for him. I'm not going to get into it over a dude. I appreciate our friendship more. So let's move on to Calvin. Calvin had a little waterfall kiss with Faith. And it looked sexy on screen, but when he had the conversation with Caleb, he told Caleb, that kiss wasn't as good as it seemed. And, he's like, I'm out on that. And so, Caleb asked him, well, what about Moira? And he has a lot of things in common with Moira, but at the same time, it's not as fast moving as he expected to be. So even though Caleb is not talking to Cher, he wanted to make sure that the pathway was clear, and he's open to see what was going on with her. So I find it interesting that they never actually even expected or had an interest in each other, which is something that Cher actually said, and she asked him, where do you stand with Moira? And, they have differences. They connect on so many levels. And it was interesting how he said, you really caught my eye. I think you have a very unique look. And he liked her smile, and it's just, I don't see it with these two. It's almost like these guys are in both villas are trying to figure out who can I connect with. I mean, the only connection right now I really see, and we'll get deeper into that conversation, is the one with Mackenzie and Jalen. But even with this matchup with Calvin talking to Cher, I mean, Cher is like, he was never on my radar. I would have never expected to speak with Calvin to try to build a connection, but she was still glad that, that she was able to have some conversation and talk to him. So it's going to remain to be seen. But let's move on. Our next couple we're talking about is McKenzie and Connor, and I feel so bad for Connor. Somewhat, because he did this with Lauren, but somewhat. But Mackenzie, again, like I said yesterday, has made a 180. And when they asked her, are you sure that if there was a recoupling, would you actually recouple with Jalen? And she was like, I don't know. I think he even asked her that question. Jalen told her at the time that she's in his top 3, but he told the guys, should I be wasting my time with her? Because I want to make sure that pretty much Connor is out of her system. And even, Mackenzie was saying this is different for her, and she was talking to the girls on how real life She's chill like that and not as serious. And when it comes to Jalen, she's comfortable. It's like relaxed, freeing. It's not like with Connor where it's overly serious. It's chill mode with Jalen. And Mackenzie is finding out that she's a better person when she's with Jalen instead of when she's with Connor. And I actually agree with that. Honestly, like I said in my previous episodes, Mackenzie and Connor are toxic. It's something about the two of them that trigger each other, and it takes them to this whole level of toxicity. Now, granted, we haven't seen much of Jalen on screen with Mackenzie, but we don't know. But it seems to start off a whole lot differently than how it's going with, Connor and her. But the conversation that Mackenzie was saying, he's such a nice boy about Connor, because Jalen was asking, hey, what's your intent? Where you at? And I don't blame him. He need to know. And he don't need to talk about that with the other guys. He need to know from Mackenzie where he stands, where she stands in regards to Connor. And she said, Connor's such a nice boy, and even though we're different, it's easier with you. I'm relaxed around you and I can be myself. And he was saying the same thing. I like the fact that I can be myself around Mackenzie, and she's refreshed. And like I said, I'm feeling this couple. I have a feeling that at the recoupling ceremony, it's probably going to go the direction of Mackenzie and Jalen. And you guys, tell me what you all think. Do you see some chemistry in these two? Do you see her being different with Jalen versus the way that she was different with Connor? Or is this just her representative that she's putting out? Is this because this is a first impression and she's going to turn into that same girl that as time go on like she was with Connor? It's going to remain to be seen. And she was like, oh, I can't believe how much my life changed in 24 hours since Jalen came into the villa. And I'm like, yeah, okay, Mackenzie, there's still a part of you that if Jalen do some of the same things that Connor did when Lauren was in town, you'll be acting the same way. I really think so. It's just that I think, honestly, she is a little bit better with Jalen, but it remains to be seen. It's still super early. I'm wondering if she carries that toxic mentality through all of her relationships, where she gets super emotional and erratic, and when things get kind of squirrely, or she loses her confidence. And even the bedroom scene, I think, is a lot more sensual than what she has with Connor. There's definitely some form of a chemistry and connection, but is it toxic is going to be the question. So let's talk about Connor. And in Connor's situation, yeah, he was having a conversation with Janelle, and Janelle was asking, hey, what's going on with you and Mackenzie? And he went on this whole rant, and I wouldn't say it was a rant, but he was rambling about how he's still holding out for Mackenzie and he want to see how it goes. And she's like, yeah. I thought that was funny. But Janelle, was pretty much like, hey, if you want to be with Mackenzie, go for it. Don't let anybody stop you. Don't let me stop you. Just go ahead and do what you want to do and go after her. And it's just so unfortunate. I mean, I would say unfortunately, he did this exact same thing that Mackenzie's doing right now with Lauren. And telling half-truths, telling Lauren one thing and not being real with himself, and telling Mackenzie something else. And now he's pro-Mackenzie, and Mackenzie is feeling a whole nother dude. So I don't want these two together. And this even came up in conversation that he had with Johnny. And Johnny is like, dude, listen, her whole response when America voted and you guys were in the bottom on the verge of elimination, her reaction to how other people think is weird. And he told him, you know, listen, what if you go back and she with a whole nother dude? I mean, how are you going to feel about that? And I will call her a hypocrite to her face. Now, I don't pretty much agree with that, Johnny, because technically, like I said, Connor did it with Lauren first. So, two wrongs don't make a right, but you can't call her a hypocrite without saying something about his behavior when Lauren was in town. So, you know, he stood up against the guys about his feelings on Lauren. He's like, no, I'm all in. I'm going back to Mackenzie. I can't wait to get back to her. You know, I don't care what anybody says. And she's over there chopping it up and smooching and snuggling up with Jalen. So have at it, Connor. You know, I mean, your day is coming. You'll get to see. All right, so let's talk about this last set of, they're not a couple, but they're coupled up in theory. And that's the whole thing with Kirsten and Carrington. And Kirsten is just, I mean, she tried to get to know DeAndre and asking him, hey, you know, what brought you here? And he's saying, I'm looking for someone that I can basically take out of here. Looking for someone that has so much to offer. I have so much to offer besides baseball. I want a family. Do you want a family? Yeah, they were trying to chop it up. Again, there's no chemistry there. I don't see it. Not at all. I mean, they both find it easy to talk to, but there's nothing there. You know, and granted, Kirsten is trying to find a connection, but she's not going to actually find a connection right now because she's still hung up on Carrington. And unfortunately, Kirsten, what you don't know, if you did know, I think you will be flying out of there looking the opposite way of Carrington. So she tried to explore this thing with Aaron, and I don't even think Aaron is sold 100% on Kirsten either. I mean, they were vibing a little bit, and Aaron was talking about how he likes teeth and how she has nice teeth, and how, yeah, he's open to get to know her, but he's more into Moira than Kirsten. So, I mean, yeah, they're having conversation, they're having dialogue, but it's just not there. It's not there. And like I said earlier, the conversation in the beauty room, you know, she basically was like, yeah, you know, I'm not going to fight over no dude. Moira, if you want them, you know, I would rather give them up to you versus us going head to head against each other, because our friendship means more. I don't know if Moira actually thinks that, because I think there's a spiteful, vindictive side of her, but okay. So she gets into this pity party about how she's feeling about Carrington, and she recruits Jalen to be a person that she can vent to. And I mean, she was freaking out. She's freaking out about the fact that I don't see anybody here I'm connecting with. Everybody only has friend vibes with me. I don't know what to do. I still want Carrington. And I'm like, oh my God. Maybe, honestly, when she fell in that elimination round, it probably, I know they tried to save her to meet somebody else. But as long as she's hung up on Carrington, it's just not going to happen. And Jalen tried to say, you know, don't freak out. You know, try to have some conversation. See if you can vibe with somebody. But, I mean, if you're going to be hung up on Carrington, you're never going to go anywhere. And I honestly believe that. And I'm glad he was there to be a listening ear. But she got to get it together. I mean, if it's nobody there, I know she's not ready to go home. I don't know what she's going to do. Because Carrington has definitely, and we'll talk about him in a minute, he's definitely moved on. He's not even thinking about Kirsten anywhere on his radar. So, I mean, you guys tell me what you think. Do you think there's anybody she can vibe with? Anybody that's available? I don't see anybody. Maybe it might be time for her to go home, but at least Jalen was there as a listening ear for her. So let's talk about our last single, which is Carrington. And Carrington right now is feeling himself. He's having conversation with Lauren, and there was this dare where they dared him to take Lauren around the corner to do anything that he wants to do, of course, with her consent. And they had an all-out smooch session. I mean, he was all in, she was all in. Kirsten was nowhere in his thoughts, which is why, again, I think Kirsten is wasting her time, unfortunately, especially after he already told her he don't want to be with her. But yeah, he is definitely feeling Lauren. I mean, he says, "Hey, well, I'm glad I'm not stuck in a 3-week marriage, and I don't want to leave Casa Amora." He is having a ball and living his best life, and he looked a little tipsy, but he was definitely living his best life in Casa Amora, especially with girl number 1, which is Lauren. Now let's talk about girl number 2 that he has an interest in, and that is Miss Mercedes. Now remember, Miss Mercedes is still kind of sort of hung up on Mr. Johnny, but we'll talk about that part in a minute. We might already talked about that with Johnny's situation, but he has a triangle going on here, and there's some conversation about who's feeling who, but yeah, Carrington had Miss Mercedes in the bathroom, and they went on with a all-out smooch session. And I mean, he got some decisions to make. It seems like he has chemistry with both of them. What do you guys think? Do you think he's a better match with Mercedes, or he's a better match with Laurel? I honestly think that neither one of them need to be with him, because he's giving me player vibes. I could be wrong, but you are finessing and smooching 2 women who you eventually definitely is going to have an all-out competition against each other for you. But he definitely, as this sign said, come and get it, because between the 2 of them, they got some figuring out to do. So of course it's bedtime, and Mercedes, of course, wants to move over to his bed, but of course she had to have some clarity and figure out the whole thing with what's going on with Johnny, which we talked about earlier. And Johnny pretty much gave her the walking papers. It's like, nah, I'm hung up on Cely, so we're done. But therefore, she was able to move over to be, in a conversation with Carrington. And again, this whole touchy-feely thing with her, I don't know if she just liked to reach out and touch folks, but she did the same thing with Johnny. I don't know about her. The jury's not out on what I think about Mercedes. I honestly think that, just say if we had to couple up somebody with Carrington, even though I said neither of the girls, again, he gave me player vibes, Laurel is the one that I think maybe a little bit more genuine. I don't think Mercedes is genuine. I mean, it's just, she's like, yes, I'm very forward, but hey, everybody don't get this, and whatever she was saying, it was crazy. But I'm not feeling this coupling. I mean, unless to put the 2 of them, because he's a player, she's aggressive. I don't know how often she is, but if they're going to do the do, go right ahead and do the do. And then he turns around and jumps in the shower with Laurel. And these girls, granted, I know this is a television show, I know that this is a game, and you got to kind of make connections, but it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. And Laurel is over the moon about her little shower session with Carrington. I mean, they're like two opposites. To me, Laurel is so far opposite than Mercedes. So, I mean, you guys comment down below what you think about this whole triangle. I mean, she's up in there telling Cher to hand me a towel. I need to clean up a bit. So, no telling what happened in that shower. Anywho. So, yeah, ladies, I mean, honestly, I hope that this is not a situation where someone gets hurt. But guess what? Carrington gets a text. He's going on a date and he has to choose a new islander to choose from. And of course, he got his eyes on both Laurel and Mercedes. And these two girls are chomping off at the bit looking like, pick me, pick me, pick me. And he's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Yeah, you got some decisions to make. And it's going to be either Laurel, which I choose her if anybody, or Mercedes. I guess we'll find out tomorrow in the next episode of Love Island USA. So let's do our post notification shout out. If you want to be shouted out, comment in the comments. Our first one is with KN West. Thank you so much for engaging in the channel. I really appreciate it and your details. David Garcia. Thank you so much as well for engaging in the channel. I really appreciate you as well. And last but not least, Shay Littman. Thank you so much. You are always commenting in the comment section. Thank you so much. And like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.